Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing our daily Q&A video for today for The Walking Dead Season 7 after the premiere. In this one, we're going to focus on and start with talking about Maggie's Future. Alright, and spoiler warning, if you guys have not seen the premiere for The Walking Dead Season 7 yet, you definitely want to watch it before you watch this video. So good stuff. So after such a crazy premiere, I feel like people are still kind of coming down from it. So dramatic, so shocking, and just really crazy. One of the craziest episodes they've ever done, for sure. So that puts Maggie in a strange place for the series. I mean, especially if you look at the end of the episode and how she responds and everything. With, of course, after seeing Glenn get his head bashed in, and everything else that happens in the episode, she's pretty distraught at the end. She was sick to begin with, and looks like it's a pretty bad start to a season, probably the worst start to a season ever for her. So a lot of people asking similar type of questions about Maggie. What do you think is going to happen with Maggie now? We have one here from Awobbie who says, do you think Maggie will attempt suicide now? She has lost her father, sister, husband, and maybe even her child. So, so that's a great question. Definitely one I wanted to do a video on, been kind of hinting at it this week, and decided, let's go ahead and do that now. So she has lost, I think she's lost probably more, people that she cares about than anybody else, if you look at everybody else from the series. The only other ones I think that could probably compare, like you have Carol, who she also lost, pretty much everything from before. But for Maggie, it almost seems worse because she loses her whole family, including her dad, and of course, like everybody from the farm. Beth is killed in season 5, which is also tragic for her. And then this season, now Glenn has been killed, and she may blame herself for that. We saw some of that at the end, that she's trying to protect everybody and say that you can't all be out here for me, and maybe feeling guilty because they had to leave because of her being sick, and as such, as part of that from the season 6 finale, them get him captured, and the next thing you know, 2 of the characters are killed. Could she blame herself? Could that make her feel guilty? And then could that guilt turn into to masochism? It definitely makes sense as a logical next step, I think, for the character and what she'll be going through this season. There is a comic book part that I wanted to point out for this one, which, spoiler warning, this is from volume 10, What We Become, and it was never adapted into the TV series, and that is a part where Maggie does try to commit suicide right here. So you've got Glenn, he's looking for her, and he says, Maggie, and there she is hanging. So it's a pretty exciting part from the Walking Dead comic book series, to where they actually take her down, and they think that she actually is dead. Abraham actually is confused, and he wants to actually kill her. He wants to put her down because he thinks it's only a matter of time before she turns, because he thinks she's dead. And then Rick puts a gun to his head, which is actually, this is a really cool part, actually, if you think about it. Rick puts a gun to his head, click, and says, you pull your trigger and I'll pull mine. Leave the girl alone. And then she actually ends up waking up and scaring Abraham quite a bit. So that's a pretty cool part from the comics. And then Glenn cries and everything, she's alive, and Abraham's all freaked out because he was very close to putting her down, thinking she was dead, when in fact she wasn't. And there's a pretty cool face-off between Rick and Abraham, and they clash a little bit. So there's some pretty cool parts in this that were never adapted. Obviously, the Abraham stuff cannot be. There's a bit of a face-off between him and Abraham, but not as much in the TV series version as in the comic book series version. There's more face-offs, and there's more of a hint that Abraham may try to kill Rick and stuff like that, and they're kind of struggling for leadership in the comics than ever happened in the TV series. But of course, with this, will Maggie try to commit suicide? I would say, here's what I'll say. If they don't decide to adapt that this season, I don't think they ever will, unless later on she ends up losing the baby at some point and then maybe tries to commit suicide at that point. That said, that's a pretty big downer for the season. And we've just seen, a pretty huge downer as a premiere. So going the suicide route, I don't know. The other thing you got to consider is, in the comic books at that time, she was not pregnant. In the TV series, she is pregnant now, so she's got to consider the baby. So unless she loses the baby, or she thinks she's going to lose the baby, I would tend to think she probably won't try to do that. And because even as such, she'll try to live on for the baby, even if she doesn't want to. So those are kind of my thoughts on whether or not I think Maggie's going to commit suicide. It could be a cool adaptation. However, is it one of those that's going to get dropped and we'll probably never see in the TV series? If we don't see it this season, we probably won't. And this season's been pretty dark to begin with. Plus, she's got the baby, which could give her added motivation not to do that. Because if she commits suicide, she'll also be killing the baby, and in turn, not protecting. That's a very built right into our core for mothers to want to protect their kids, obviously. So even if they're unborn, whatever the case may be. So yeah, as such, I'm thinking probably won't happen. But, in terms of the future for her character, this is going to be a really dark season. And it should make her stronger, should make her more hardened, more gritty, more badass version of Maggie as we've seen. And, will make it more believable if she is to turn into a stronger or a leader of her own group and her own sort of community in the future. Certainly this loss for her, I think, makes that pretty... it feels pretty natural, I think, her going through this. Because if she can get through that and she can continue on, then she'll probably get through just about anything, to be honest. And there is a Stephen Yeun farewell to fans. If you guys haven't caught it yet, I'll put the link in the description to thewalkingdead.com. It's pretty touching. You've got Stephen Yeun, and he says, goodbye to fans. I think there's another one with Abraham, but I don't have it here. If I see it, I'll link it below. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see because, of course, if you look at him, he's been in the series since the beginning. I mean, literally, you've got the first episode. He actually is in the first episode. It's just his voice, right? Hey, you in the tank. Dumbass Cozy in there. So he's actually in the show from the very beginning, And, it's something to see now that he's something to fear, something to see. Him being killed off in the season 7 premiere is pretty nuts. It's going to be weird watching the show without him being there because we're so used to seeing him. So it's a really cool kind of just, funny little video you guys can check out in that for, it's pretty sad, I think, more than anything. Because at the end of the day, it is a show. But, of course, we do get used to seeing the certain actors there. And it's a huge part of their lives, obviously. A lot of them may have to move to do the show. And, they get really settled and everything. And then with Walking Dead. But at the same time, maybe part of the reason why I'm not so sad about it is because, we went in knowing, years ago that at that part Glenn was killed off. So, whether or not it was adapted, whether or not it was changed in the TV series version, however they're going to remix it or do it, we kind of knew that that's when he gets killed off. So if they want to stick with the same thing, and it looks to me like Stephen Yeun had the same indication as well because he's known about his character's fate, obviously, probably since it happened, back in whatever season issue 100 was released in, maybe 3-4 years ago. He's probably known for a very long time, obviously, that when they get to that part, he'll probably be killed off, or at least the comic book version of him was. So as such, I think he was well prepared for it. I was well prepared for it emotionally to see because of knowing, everything and all the videos we've talked about and all the discussions. So, but it's still a pretty sad video, and I would check it out because it's cool to see him say goodbye, and hopefully we'll see him maybe in the future on Talking Dead or something. It would be cool to see him and Michael Cudlitz, who of course played Abraham, come back for something like that would be cool. And I'm sure they'll get lots of other roles and other stuff as well. Stephen Yeun's already had Okja and stuff like that, and other movies and stuff he's working on. So I'm sure their careers will just blow up as well because The Walking Dead is so huge. Look at Jon Bernthal's career. He's now getting his own show, right, with Punisher. So, I mean, it's obviously good for their careers. That's for sure. So very cool stuff. Check it out, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below about Maggie committing suicide. Do you think she will? Do you think she won't? And the farewell to fans from Stephen Yeun. Pretty sad stuff. So, SerenadeWho says, Glenn did not die. I think that Nicolas was dressed up as Glenn, but the real Glenn is still under the dumpster. Okay. Enough with the stupid dumpster jokes, okay? However, I have had some people bring up, Trev, what do you think about Thank You, which is the episode where he goes into the dumpster and Nicolas dies, now that Glenn has just been killed off anyways afterwards. Yeah, it's I mean, which fate would have been worse? I think being eaten alive by zombies from every which angle in a herd like that by yourself. Now that after Nicolas is killed, maybe even still the death was still better. It was quick. It kind of came out of nowhere. At least he was with Maggie when he died. So I think that might be still a better death for Glenn than being eaten alive by all those angry zombies. That looked pretty bad, and having your guts ripped out and everything. So but it does. I do see what people are saying that maybe it was kind of useless now because he's just killed off anyways. So it's kind of like if he survives that, maybe you should have kept him and given it to someone else. But oh well, it's what the show is. Obviously, they got to keep it exciting, and they got to have close near-death experiences here and there in a zombie apocalypse. And it's gonna be sad without Glenn in the show, and I'm sure it won't be the same seeing Maggie all the way through her. Lauren Cohen's gonna have a lot of different things to do now, I think, because most of her scenes were with Glenn so far in the series. Majority of them, you have her, you have Glenn, you have them either looking for each other or them together, or so cool stuff. Anyway, you guys can write your comments below. That'll be it for this one today. Got lots more coming this weekend for you guys, of course, with episode 2 coming up. Man, this is gonna be awesome. We got another 7 weeks of Walking Dead. We're just getting started, and yet it feels like we've just seen something that's like an event, so it's pretty cool. If you guys like this video, please don't forget to thumb it up below. You can also share, you can favorite, and if you're new and you want to subscribe, you can subscribe at the bottom left. Doing a radio show soon, again this year, just like I did last year, so I'll be posting that on the channel this weekend. So heads up for that, guys. Those are a bit longer, usually half an hour to 45 minutes, and they're pretty fun, they're pretty cool. So heads up for that, and you guys will see it in the channel when it's posted. That's it for this video. I'll see you guys again soon. As always, this is Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See ya.